If you're a beginner to MMA DFS and you're looking at some of these GPPs and looking at that first place prize money, 50 G's to first place, and like, God damn, say less, fam. That's the wrong way to approach this, especially when you're a beginner. And this video is going to tell you why that's faulty thinking. All right, I want to start things with the difference between GPP and cash games as far as its effect on your bankroll. GPP is crazy variant. That means you'll see a lot of downward slopes with your money, and then some spikes up, high risk, high reward type situation. Whereas in your cash games, it will be slight increases with slight decreases, somewhat staying more stable and in the middle. And if you're good at building these cash contests, those slight increases will eventually overcome those slight decreases. Key word here is slight. We're not shooting for the stars here. We're not trying to get that 50K first place. We're just trying to build our bankroll. Think grinders mindset. This is good for a couple of reasons. Number one, psychologically, it sucks, especially as a beginner, if you're just constantly losing. You can go months with just losing over losing over losing. You just think, what the hell's the whole point of this? I'm just burning my money. And with these cash games, it'll give you that confidence and be like, hey, at least I'm doing something right. On top of that, it will build your bankroll. I would suggest adding to it if you can. If not, grinding these cash games to build your bankroll. Because in GPPs, you're gonna have to take these risks where you need the bankroll to take that risk. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to take shots that you would if you had a smaller bankroll. And the reason why this happens as far as its effects on your bankroll is the payout structure between the two. Cash contests, it pays out generally. This varies from if you're rather playing double ups or 50-50s. I'm not gonna get into those sort of details. Generally, cash games pay out the top 50 contestants, and you 2x your fee, your entry. Whereas GPPs, it generally pays the top 25%, so essentially half of what cash games pay. On top of that, most of the equity is like that top 10, top 5 positioning, so you have to fall in that top 10 position to really get that good payout. Now let's get into some hippie shiz. Momentum and confidence. Those two things are huge in DFS in general. Because a lot of times when you're playing DFS, you're just trying to survive the variance. And in cash games, especially in the beginning, it's good to start building that momentum. And in the process of building this momentum of getting better at DFS, you'll familiarize yourself with the fighters themselves. Even though you're a UFC fan, there are things to look at that you normally don't look at when you're playing DFS. As opposed to just being a fan. I have that experience being a fan transitioning to DFS play. There's a difference there. Being a fan does help because you do understand the fighters a little more. And on top of that, you look into that nerdy stuff, the ITD lines, the money lines, the salary, how the salary is distributed amongst the fighters. And on top of all this, it's just plain easier to build cash lineups over GPP lineups because you are taking one big factor out of the equation, which is ownership. GPP play is more of an exploitative style of playing. You're trying to get away from the rest of the field with the ownership, which gets into a tricky poker type game theory type of mindset, which is fun and cool. And I would suggest eventually building up to that because that's where all the kizash lies. But these cash games, it allows you to survive and start familiarizing yourself with ITD lines, win odds, salary equity, salary breakdown, all those little minutia things that you should familiarize yourself before starting to play with the big boy. And then once you start getting that ball rolling, once you get that momentum built, you have that confidence to know what you're doing, know what to look for when you're building lineups for these GPP contests. And so you want to just be playing this guessing game, which I believe a lot of people are playing. And that's how we profit off those type of people that think that, hey, I'm a fan of UFC, I know what's up, I'm gonna enter this 50K to first place GPP and win money, but that is not the way to win it. You do have to methodically build your way to that. So a couple warnings here. Number one, I am talking about low stakes cash in particular. Once you start getting to the higher stakes, you start running into sharks, and you won't really have an edge over them. Even if you do learn how to play cash games pretty well, you'll probably just end up breaking even with them and just lose money to the rake. Remember, Draftkings does take a rake from every a game, and cash games, I believe it's around 10%. Number two, another warning I want to give out to everybody is not all fight cards, I'm talking about the UFC fight card in particular, are conducive to cash lineups. I'm going to make another video of how to actually build cash lineups, and in that video I'll tell you what to look out for in fight cards to build these cash lineups. And then finally, number three, if you are eventually going to go to a GPP contest, the mindset is completely different. Cash games, you're just playing it safe, you're playing optimal, you're waiting for other people to make mistakes, and that's a safe mindset. GPP style of play, you're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone and take certain risks that are gonna make you feel uncomfortable. That is unfortunately what it takes to being these GPP contests. So that mindset of safety, that's gonna have to completely change when you get to that GPP contest. A little warning on that. So if you wanna learn the nuances on how to build cash contest lineups, I'm doing another video on that. I will link it to this in the description and the video itself. Check that out. That's where I'm gonna get into more details on what to look out for and how to build these cash lineups. I'll see you in that video.